You know what nobody tells you about asking for a DNA test? It's not treated like a simple medical procedure. It's treated like you just accused her of murder in front of her entire family. The request itself becomes the crime, not infidelity, not doubt. The audacity of wanting biological certainty. Here's what's fascinating. She knows with 100% certainty that child is hers. You operate on faith alone, but the moment you want to convert that faith into forensic fact, you've committed what I call the verification sin. You stopped being a believer and became an auditor. And that shift, from blind trust to scientific confirmation, triggers an explosion that reveals more about power dynamics than any lab result ever could. This isn't about catching cheaters. This is about what happens when you refuse to treat her word as sacred biological law. Alpha lens mindset here. Let's break it down. There's an unspoken rule in modern relationships that nobody puts in writing, but everyone enforces. Her certainty about paternity must be treated as absolute truth, not probable truth, not I'm pretty sure truth. Absolute, unquestionable, forensic level truth, based entirely on her word. You're expected to sign your name to birth certificates, restructure your entire life, commit 2 decades of resources, and build your identity around fatherhood, all on faith. And if you ask for verification, you've just declared war. Let me tell you what's really happening here. You've entered what I call the blind trust religion. She's the high priestess. Her certainty is the scripture, and doubt, any doubt, no matter how reasonable, is heresy. The punishment for heresy isn't a conversation, it's excommunication. She'll frame your request for a DNA test as destroying the relationship or emotional abuse or proof you never loved me. But here's the part that makes no logical sense. Verification should create clarity. A DNA test removes doubt permanently. It transforms faith into fact. So why is removing doubt treated as relationship poison? Why does science become the enemy of love? Because this was never about truth, it's about power. Think about every other major life decision you make. You verify property ownership before buying a house. You don't hand the seller cash and say, I trust you own this. You check the title deed. You get an inspection. You confirm the facts. And nobody calls you an arsehole for doing basic due diligence. You verify employment history before hiring someone. You verify credit before lending money. You verify identity before signing contracts. Verification is standard operating procedure in every high-stakes transaction, except this one. Why? Because in every other scenario, both parties understand that verification protects everyone. It removes ambiguity. It prevents future conflict. But in paternity, verification is reframed as an attack on her character. The request itself becomes evidence of your moral failure. Let's be clear about the asymmetry here. She has zero biological uncertainty. The child either came out of her body or it didn't. There's no mystery, no ambiguity, no room for doubt. But you're operating on trust alone, and that trust is expected to be absolute, immediate, and unshakable, despite the fact that paternity fraud exists, that relationships end, that people lie. You're not allowed to acknowledge that reality. You're supposed to pretend the risk doesn't exist. And if you don't pretend convincingly enough, you're the problem. Here's what men don't understand. The resistance to DNA testing isn't always about guilt. Sometimes it's about losing unquestionable status. She's been operating in a framework where her word is law, where doubt is forbidden, where you're the believer and she's the authority. A DNA test flips that script. Suddenly she's being audited. Her certainty is being fact-checked. And that shift, from automatic belief to forensic verification, feels like a status threat. So what happens when you commit the verification sin? When you ask for proof instead of offering blind faith? Let's break down the explosion. When you ask for a DNA test, you're not just asking a question. You're triggering a 3-phase defense system designed to make you retreat before you ever get near that lab. Let me walk you through exactly how this plays out. Phase 1, the shockwave. How dare you? The first response is pure volume, high drama emotional blast designed to stun you into silence, She's not defending her innocence here. She's attacking your audacity for asking. The goal isn't to answer your question. The goal is to make the question so painful that you never ask it again. You'll hear things like, "I can't believe you would even think that," or "After everything we've been through, this is what you do?" Notice what's missing. A simple, "Yes, let's do it." Instead, you get theatrical outrage. The request itself becomes the scandal, not the possibility of doubt, not the biological uncertainty, your nerve to ask. This phase is about emotional shock and awe. She's trying to reset the power dynamic immediately. If she can make you feel like a monster in the first 60 seconds, you'll spend the next hour apologizing instead of holding your boundary. Phase 2, the moral counterattack, character assassination. Once the initial blast doesn't work, she shifts to your soul. This is where it stops being about biology and starts being about your moral standing. You'll hear, "I thought you were a better man," or "This says everything about who you really are." She's not arguing the merits of verification. She's bankrupting your character, so the logical request looks like a symptom of your brokenness. Suddenly, the conversation isn't about a 15-minute mouth swab. It's about your trust issues, your insecurity, your past, your damaged psychology. She'll weaponize everything she knows about you. That time you got jealous, that argument you had 3 years ago, that moment you doubted yourself. All of it gets dragged into the courtroom as evidence that you're fundamentally flawed. And if you're fundamentally flawed, then your request isn't reasonable, it's pathological. This phase is designed to make you defend yourself instead of holding the boundary. You'll find yourself explaining why you're not a bad person instead of explaining why verification makes sense. And once you're defending your character, you've already lost the frame. Phase 3, the guilt trip, future hostage. If moral assassination doesn't work, she brings in the child. Real or hypothetical doesn't matter. You'll hear, "What will this do to our family?" Or, "How will I ever look at you the same?" Or, "You're going to ruin everything we built." She's holding the relationship's future hostage to prevent a lab test. The message is clear. If you proceed with verification, the relationship ends. Not because of what the test reveals, because you asked for it. Notice the framing. She's not saying, "Let's clear this up forever." She's saying, "If you don't trust me unconditionally, we're done." That's not confidence. That's control. This phase works because most men value peace over truth. They'd rather live with doubt than risk losing the relationship. So they back down, they apologize, they never mention it again. And the doubt just sits there, growing quietly in the background for the next 20 years. Here's what you need to understand. Outrage is often a negotiation tactic, not a truth serum. The explosion isn't proof of innocence. It's proof that verification threatens something she values more than your peace of mind. And that something is her unquestionable status. Let me show you how this plays out in 3 scenarios men actually face. These aren't theoretical. These are the moments where the verification sin gets tested in real time. Scenario 1. The surprise request in a long-term relationship. You've been together 5 years, maybe married, maybe not. You're not suspicious. You haven't caught her cheating. You just want certainty as a principle. You believe DNA testing should be standard operating procedure for responsible fatherhood, like getting a prenup or verifying employment history. So you bring it up calmly. You frame it as formality, not accusation. And she loses her mind. She doesn't hear, "I want certainty." She hears, "I think you're a liar and a cheater." The request becomes proof that you never trusted her, that you've been secretly doubting her the whole time, that you're not the man she thought you were. Here's what's really happening. You've just shifted the power dynamic. For 5 years, her word has been law. She's operated with unquestionable status. And now you're auditing her. You're treating her certainty as insufficient. You're saying your word isn't enough. I need forensic confirmation. That's the status threat. It's not about whether she cheated. It's about whether she gets to operate above verification. And the explosion you're seeing, that's her fighting to preserve that privilege. The counterintuitive insight. Her anger is less about the test and more about losing automatic belief. She's not defending truth. She's defending her position in the hierarchy. Scenario 2. The hospital/before birth request. You want paternity confirmed at birth or early in the pregnancy. You're not accusing her of anything. You just want peace of mind before you sign legal documents and restructure your entire life. She frames it as ruining the pregnancy or making this about you instead of us. She'll say you're adding stress during a vulnerable time, that you're prioritizing your paranoia over her emotional needs, that a real man wouldn't need proof. But here's the timing trap. When is there ever a good time to verify in her eyes? Before pregnancy? You're planning to doubt me before we even start. During pregnancy, you're stressing me out. After birth, it's too late now. You're already the father. There's no window where verification is acceptable because verification itself is the problem. It's not about timing. It's about the fact that you're asking at all. The frame anchor approach here is simple. Treat it as medical standard, not personal investigation. You're not Sherlock Holmes looking for clues. You're a man establishing biological certainty the same way you'd confirm blood type or genetic health markers. It's paperwork, it's documentation, it's responsible adulting. If she can't handle that framing, you've learned something critical about how she views your role, believer, not verifier. Scenario 3. The post-breakup/child support reality check. The relationship ends, emotions are high. Custody and child support enter the picture. Suddenly, DNA testing isn't abstract. It's tied to money, legal obligations, and identity. And her explosion intensifies. Why? Because now the stakes are concrete. Before, it was theoretical. Now, verification has consequences. If that test comes back negative, she loses financial support. She loses the narrative. She loses control of the story she's been telling herself and everyone else. This is where you see the rawest version of the security breach. She's not just defending her word anymore, she's defending her outcome. And the outrage spikes because she knows what's on the line. Here's the legal reality. Courts often require paternity testing anyway in contested custody cases. So why is your request the problem? Because you're the one initiating it. You're not waiting for the system to force it. You're choosing verification, and that choice threatens her frame. A quick bonus mention. Ancestry test surprises. A casual 23 and me kit ordered for fun, and suddenly a family secret detonates. Non-paternity events that no one saw coming. These aren't malicious requests. They're accidental audits. And they reveal the same pattern. Verification exposes what blind trust protected. So how do you handle this without becoming the villain? Let's talk tactics. Let me tell you something about how most men approach this conversation. They ask for a DNA test, like they're begging for permission to doubt. They apologize before they even finish the sentence. They frame it as, I know this sounds crazy, but, or I hate to bring this up, but that's the wrong frame entirely. You don't ask for a DNA test like a beggar. You treat it like a background check, like title verification, like any other standard operating procedure for responsible decision-making. This isn't about suspicion. This is about documentation, and documentation doesn't require an apology. Here's the mindset shift. You're not investigating her character. You're establishing biological certainty for your own peace of mind and legal protection. That's not an accusation. That's adulting. The formalities approach works because it removes the emotional charge. You're not saying, I think you cheated. You're saying, I verify important facts before making permanent commitments. You do it with contracts. You do it with property. You do it with employment. Why would fatherhood be the exception? Now, let's talk about communication tactics that reduce escalation without sacrificing your boundary. First, timing matters. Don't drop this mid-fight. Don't bring it up during a pregnancy scare or right after an argument about trust. Choose a calm window when emotions aren't already running hot. You want her to hear the request, not the context of conflict. Second, lead with purpose clarity. Your framing should be, Peace of mind plus responsible fatherhood, not "I think you cheated." The difference is massive. One positions you as a man, establishing certainty. The other positions you as an insecure detective hunting for evidence. Try language like this. This is about certainty for both of us, not doubt about you. I want to remove any ambiguity permanently so we both know the foundation is solid. Notice what that does. It includes her in the benefit. It's not you versus her. It's both of you versus uncertainty. Third, use neutral language throughout. Avoid accusatory phrasing. Avoid bringing up past relationships or hypothetical scenarios where women lied. Keep it focused on your decision-making process, not her behavior. Now, here's what you need to expect. She will likely still resist, not because she's guilty, but because verification shifts the power dynamic. She's being asked to submit to an audit. And even if she's 100% certain of the outcome, that shift feels like a status threat. Here's the critical read. If she were completely secure and respected your frame, her response would be something like, "I hate that you feel doubt, but let's kill it forever and move on." That's confidence. That's respect for your boundary. That's a woman who values your peace of mind over her unquestionable status. Anything else, screaming, moral outrage, threats to leave, guilt trips about the child, that's a security breach. That's her prioritizing control over clarity. This is where the indifference protocol applies. You don't defend. You don't justify. You don't argue about whether your request is reasonable. You simply hold the boundary. I understand you're upset. This is still something I need for my own peace of mind. If she escalates, you stay calm. If she threatens to leave, you let her make that choice. Because here's the truth. If asking for biological certainty destroys the relationship was built on your silence, not her truth. Now, some critical legal and ethical guardrails to protect yourself. Don't collect DNA secretly. Don't swab the kid's cheek while she's at work and mail it to a lab. That's high legal risk in many jurisdictions, and it destroys any remaining trust instantly. If you're going to do this, do it transparently. Know your jurisdiction's laws. Some places require consent from both parents, some don't. If this is tied to custody or child support, talk to a family law attorney before you make moves. Get professional guidance on how to protect yourself legally. Never weaponize results publicly or with family. If the test comes back and confirms paternity, you don't get to hold it over her head forever. If it comes back negative, you handle that privately and through proper legal channels. This isn't about revenge. This is about truth and boundaries. Here's the fundamental truth nobody wants to say out loud. The test result is in the lab, but the truth is in the room. Her reaction to your request tells you everything you need to know about what she values more, your peace of mind or her unquestionable status. Let me break down what different reactions reveal. Calm cooperation looks like this. I hate that you feel doubt, but I understand. Let's do it and put this to rest forever. That's a woman who's secure in the truth and respects your frame. She doesn't love the request, but she prioritizes clarity over control. She values your certainty more than her pride. That's the green light. That's respect. Explosive outrage looks different. It's immediate escalation, volume, drama, moral accusations. How dare you energy that fills the entire room. This isn't about defending innocence. This is about being threatened by verification itself. She's not upset about what the test might reveal. She's upset that you're auditing her at all. That's a security breach. That's her fighting to maintain power, not prove truth. Guilt trip manipulation is the third pattern. She brings in the child. She holds the future hostage. She makes your request about destroying the family instead of establishing certainty. If you do this, I'll never forgive you. This will ruin everything we built. How can we move forward if you don't trust me? Notice what's missing. A simple yes. Instead, you get emotional leverage designed to make you retreat. Here's the pattern recognition skill you need to develop. Watch how she handles being audited in any context. not just paternity. Any situation where her word isn't automatically treated as sacred law. Does she cooperate or does she escalate? Does she provide clarity or does she create chaos? Because this isn't just about DNA tests. This is about how she responds when you establish boundaries, when you verify claims, when you refuse to operate on blind faith. If she can't handle you confirming biological truth without declaring war, what else can't you verify? Financial decisions, past relationships, her version of events during arguments. This matters for long-term partnership because respect and frame are built on moments like this. You need a woman who can handle your boundaries without turning every verification into a character assassination. You need someone who values truth over control. The hard question you have to ask yourself: if she can't handle a 15-minute lab test without exploding, what does that tell you about the foundation you're building on? The choice point is simple. You can stay in the blind trust religion where her word is law and doubt is heresy. Or you can step into the forensic analyst role where verification is standard and clarity is non-negotiable. One path keeps the peace, the other path keeps your sanity. Outrage at verification reveals more about power dynamics than it does about truth. If asking for biological certainty destroys the relationship was built on your silence, not her honesty. Treat DNA testing like you treat every other major verification in life. Standard operating procedure, not scandal. You don't apologize for confirming facts. You don't beg for permission to establish certainty. The frame anchor is simple. Her explosion tells you what she values. And if she values control over your peace of mind, you've already got your answer. No lab required. If this video showed you the power dynamics behind paternity resistance, drop "verification is standard" in the comments below. Your peace of mind doesn't require her permission. Alpha Lens mindset here. Thank you for watching. Stay sharp.